Last Thursday evening, I walked into my own house and found out my wife, Jennifer, was planning to fake a breakup with me. Not because she actually wanted to leave, but because her friends convinced her it'd be a fun little test to see how much I really loved her. So, I came home early from work, which almost never happens. The house was quiet, but I could hear muffled voices coming from the living room. Jennifer was on speakerphone, and I recognized the voices instantly, her three closest friends, Rachel, Sandra, and Amber. The same trio that had been filling her head with toxic relationship nonsense for months. I stopped in the hallway, out of sight but close enough to catch every word. What I heard made my blood run ice cold. "Just tell him you need space to think about your future together," Rachel was saying. "Men never appreciate what they have until it's threatened." "Exactly," Sandra jumped in. "My cousin Melissa did this with her boyfriend last year. Dude practically begged her to stay and bought her a new car the next week." Jennifer's voice came through, hesitant but curious. "But what if he just agrees? What if he doesn't fight for me?" "Trust me, honey," Amber said confidently. "No man lets his wife walk away without a fight. He'll probably cry and promise to change everything about himself." My jaw clenched hard. These women were treating my marriage like some dumb social experiment. But the worst part? Jennifer was actually considering it. "I don't know, girls. It feels wrong to manipulate him like that," Jennifer said. "It's not manipulation," Rachel snapped back. "It's testing his commitment. You deserve to know where you rank in his priorities." "Look," Sandra added, "if he really loves you, he'll fight for you. If he doesn't, then you'll know the truth about your marriage." I heard Jennifer sigh. "When should I do it?" "This weekend," Amber suggested. "Make it dramatic, but don't go full soap opera. Tell him you've been thinking and you're not sure you're happy anymore." My hands curled into fists. They were encouraging my wife to blow up our marriage just for kicks. And she was listening. "Remember, stay calm and serious," Rachel coached. "No hints it's a test. Let him stress for a few days, then see how hard he works to win you back. And document everything," Sandra laughed. "This is gonna be great drama." I'd heard enough. I quietly backed away and slipped out the front door, my head spinning. Part of me wanted to storm in and call them all out. But something stopped me. A better idea was cooking. If Jennifer wanted to play games with our marriage, if she wanted to test me, then she was about to learn something real important about her husband. I wasn't the kind of guy who begged or pleaded. I wasn't about to tap dance like a clown for anyone's entertainment. I got in my car and drove around the block, giving myself time to think. 20 minutes later, when I came back, her friends were gone and Jennifer was in the kitchen cooking dinner like nothing had happened. "Hey honey, you're home early," she said, kissing my cheek with what I now realized was fake affection. "Traffic was light," I said, watching her closely. She looked nervous, fidgeting with the kitchen towel. At dinner, she barely talked, clearly rehearsing the script her friends handed her. I ate calmly, kept things normal, watched her squirm. Inside, though, I was locking in my plan. That night in bed, she was restless. I could practically hear her thoughts spinning, wondering whether to go through with the plan. I already knew she would. That seed had been planted, and friends like hers don't let go easy. But here's what Jennifer and her wannabe psychologist friends didn't get about me. I don't play games with people I love. And I definitely don't tolerate people trying to play games with me. If she wanted to test whether I'd fight for the marriage, she was about to learn I don't fight for relationships with people who don't want to be in them. I don't chase. I don't beg. And I sure as hell don't perform for anyone's amusement. Saturday was coming and I was ready. But my response? Yeah, it wasn't gonna be anything like what she or her friends expected. They wanted desperate. They wanted tears. Instead, they were about to meet a man who knew his worth and wasn't about to be manipulated. The test was coming. And my wife was about to learn that some tests don't have the answers you expect. The performance begins. Saturday morning arrived right on schedule, and so did Jennifer's act. I was in the garage organizing tools when she appeared in the doorway, looking like she'd practiced her lines all morning. "Marcus, we need to talk," she said, using that serious tone her friends probably drilled into her. I looked up, totally calm. "Sure. What's up? She took a deep breath, bracing herself. I've been thinking a lot about us, about our marriage. And I'm not sure I'm happy anymore. I nodded slowly. What exactly is making you unhappy? That threw her off. She clearly expected panic. It's just, we've fallen into a routine. I don't know if this is what I want forever. I think I need some space. Space, I repeated, setting down my wrench. What kind of space? Maybe we should take a break. Spend some time apart so I can think clearly. I wiped my hands and leaned back. How long of a break? She blinked. I don't know. A few weeks? Maybe a month. A month? I nodded. That's reasonable. When do you want to start? Her mouth fell open. This was not the script. You're okay with this? I shrugged. You said you need space. I'm not gonna force you to stay in a marriage that makes you unhappy. Her face went pale. But don't you want to talk? Try to fix things? What's there to fix? You said you're unhappy and want space. I'm giving you exactly that. Panic crept into her eyes. So you're just giving up on us? I'm respecting your decision. You're an adult. If you want space, you've got it. I walked past her. I'll move my stuff to the guest room today. You can take the master. We should also figure out how to split the bills during the break. Wait, she rushed after me. You're moving now? Oh yeah. You wanted space. I figured that meant physical space too. She followed me inside, completely rattled. I didn't mean immediately. I thought we'd discuss the details. The details seem pretty clear to me, I said as I opened our dresser. You want a break from our marriage so you can think about whether you even want to be with me, right? The sooner we start, the sooner you'll have your answer. I started pulling clothes out of our shared dresser, calm to the point of scary, folding everything neatly. She stood in the doorway watching me, clearly panicking because this had gone way off the script in her head. Don't you have any questions? Any feelings about this? She asked, sounding desperate. I paused and looked straight at her. Of course I have feelings. But you've made it pretty clear those feelings aren't enough to make you happy in this marriage. So what's the point of talking about them now? That's not what I said, she protested. You said you weren't sure you wanted to spend the rest of your life with me. That's about as clear as it gets. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, probably one of her friends checking in to see how their little test was going. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'm gonna call the guys and see if anyone wants to grab dinner tonight, I said casually while folding a shirt. Since we're on a break, I figure we should both start getting used to being single again. Single? The word slipped out of her mouth almost like a whisper. That's what a break is, right? I continued. Taking time to see what life's like without each other. I could practically see her brain going a mile a minute, trying to figure out how to save this mess without admitting the whole thing was fake. I think you're misunderstanding what I meant by a break, she stammered. Am I? Because it sounds like you want the freedom to decide if you still want to be married to me, which means we're basically separated until you make up your mind. She sat down hard on the bed, watching me pack with growing panic. Where are you going for dinner? Not sure. Probably that new steakhouse downtown, the one with the rooftop bar. I haven't gone out with the guys in months. Should be fun. Truth was, I had zero plans. But I could see her picturing me out there living my best newly single life, and it was clearly driving her nuts. You seem way too calm about all this, she said, her voice cracking a little. I stopped packing and looked at her with what I hoped passed for genuine concern. Would you rather I be upset? Because I can be upset if that'll make you feel better about your decision. No, that's not, I just expected you to react more. My reaction is giving you exactly what you asked for. Isn't that the point? She didn't answer. Just sat there staring while I kept moving my stuff. Her phone buzzed again, and this time she ignored it completely. The test was officially in full effect, but the results were nothing like what she or her friends expected. Instead of a desperate husband begging her to stay, she was watching her marriage fall apart with cold, efficient precision. And the kicker? It was all her idea. The panic sets in. By Sunday night, Jennifer was in full-blown panic mode. I'd gone out like I said I would, dinner with Nathan and Greg at that steakhouse, stayed out till midnight, Came home acting like everything was totally normal. She was waiting for me in the living room, which she never did back when we were supposedly happy. "How was your night?" she asked, trying, and failing, to sound chill. "Great. Really great," I said, loosening my tie. I forgot how nice it is to go out without worrying about rushing home for anyone. Her face tightened. "What do you mean by that?" "Well, we're on a break, right? So I don't have to check in or stress about making someone else happy. It's actually pretty freeing." I could see her wrestling with the monster she'd created. Her phone had been blowing up all weekend, probably her friends demanding updates on how their genius plan was working out. Monday morning, I was making coffee when she shuffled in wearing her robe, looking like she hadn't slept at all. Dark circles sat under her eyes. "I've been thinking about what I said on Saturday," she started carefully. "Oh good," I said, pouring my coffee. "That's kind of the whole point of a break." Maybe I was too hasty. Maybe we should try counseling instead. I turned to face her, mug in hand. "Counseling? But you said you weren't sure you wanted to spend your life with me. What exactly would we be counseling about?" "I was just stressed," she said quickly. "Work's been insane, and I might have taken it out on our marriage." "Stress," I repeated slowly. "Yeah, that checks out. Stress can totally make you question basic stuff, like whether you love your husband." She flinched. "I never said I didn't love you." "No, but you did say you weren't happy and needed to figure out what you wanted. Those aren't small issues. That's not something a couple therapy sessions magically fix." I grabbed my briefcase and headed for the door. Besides, now that I've had a few days to think about it, maybe this break is actually good for both of us. "What do you mean?" Her voice was small. I've realized how much energy I was burning trying to make someone happy who apparently wasn't. It's kinda nice focusing on myself for once. I've even been thinking about taking that promotion in the Boston office, the one I turned down last year. Her mouth dropped open. "Boston? That's 4 hours away. Wouldn't really matter if we're separated, would it?" That afternoon, she called me at work, something she almost never did. "Can we have dinner tonight? Just to talk?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I don't know if that's a good idea," I said, shuffling papers at my desk. "You said you needed space to think clearly. Spending time together might just mess that up." "Please, Marcus. Just dinner." I sighed. "Fine. But only if you're sure it won't interfere with your decision-making process." That night at our usual Italian place, she tried every angle she could to undo her fake breakup without admitting it was fake. "I think I was too dramatic on Saturday," she said, poking at her pasta. "Maybe I don't need a full break. Maybe just some changes." "What kind of changes?" I asked, cutting my steak slowly. "Date nights. Weekend trips. Stuff to reconnect. Those sound like things we could have done before you decided you were unhappy. What's changed now?" She was trapped by her own logic. If she admitted she wasn't actually unhappy, she'd have to explain why she staged the whole thing. "I guess I just needed to almost lose something to realize how much it meant to me," she said, reaching for my hand. I gently pulled my hand back to grab my water. "But you haven't almost lost anything. We're still married. We're just on a break so you can decide if you want to stay married. Maybe I don't need the full month." "Are you sure? Flip-flopping on big life decisions feels like something you should think through. I wouldn't want you having regrets later." Her frustration finally showed. "You're being deliberately difficult." "I'm being supportive," I said calmly. "You said you needed space. I'm making sure you get exactly what you asked for." The escalation. By Wednesday, she was straight up desperate. Over breakfast, she tried again. "Maybe the issue isn't our marriage," Jennifer said, holding her coffee mug. "Maybe it's that we don't spend enough quality time together." "That could be," I said, buttering my toast. "Although you did say you weren't sure you wanted to spend the rest of your life with me. That feels bigger than a scheduling problem." I was overwhelmed. I didn't mean it literally. "Oh. So when you said you needed space to decide if you wanted to be married to me, that was metaphorical?" She opened and closed her mouth like a fish. There was no answer that didn't expose the lie. Thursday night she escalated. She knocked on the guest room door where I was reading. What if I said I made a mistake? She asked from the doorway. What if I said I didn't want a break anymore? I looked up from my book, slid my bookmark in. Then I'd say you better be damn sure about that decision. What do you mean? I mean, you already showed me that when life gets stressful, your first instinct is to question our whole marriage. So how am I supposed to believe you won't pull the same stunt the next time work sucks or you beef with a friend? She stared at me, finally realizing I was flipping her fake worries into real relationship problems. You're punishing me, she snapped. I'm protecting myself, I corrected. There's a difference. I'm not spending my life walking on eggshells, waiting for the next time you decide to test me. Friday morning, I overheard her on the phone with her friends again. This time I made sure she couldn't see me, and the tone was totally different from the week before. This isn't working at all, Jennifer said, her voice tight. He's not fighting for me. He actually seems relieved we're separated. Maybe you should tell him you're thinking about divorce, Rachel suggested. That'll definitely get a reaction. I smiled to myself. They were about to level up their dumb little game, and now I could really show them who they were messing with. Sure enough, Friday night, Jennifer sat me down in the living room with the most serious face yet. I've been thinking during this break, she said, and maybe we should consider making the separation permanent. I nodded slowly, like I was actually thinking it through. Like a divorce? Maybe. I mean, if we're both happier apart. Then I cut in. You know what? You might be right. Her eyes went wide. Straight up stunned. I've been thinking the same thing, I continued. This week really showed me what I want in a partner. And maybe we're just not compatible long term. She looked like I'd slapped her across the face. This was supposed to be the nuclear button that made me crawl back, not the moment I agreed with her. Why you want a divorce? She stammered. I want to be with someone who's sure they want to be with me. And you've made it pretty clear that's not you. I never said that, she protested weakly. Jennifer, you spent a whole week telling me you weren't sure about our marriage, that you needed space, that you might want to separate permanently. What exactly am I supposed to think? The test was blowing up in her face, and we both knew it. The breaking point. Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after her little performance started, Jennifer was pacing the kitchen like a caged animal. I was calmly eating breakfast, scrolling the news on my tablet, when she finally snapped. Oh, stop, she burst out. Just stop this whole thing. I looked up. Stop what? This act. This calm, detached routine you've been doing all week. I don't know what you mean, I said. You said you wanted a break. Maybe even a divorce. I'm giving you what you asked for. She slammed her coffee mug on the counter so hard I thought it might crack. No, you're not. You're supposed to fight for us. You're supposed to care that your wife is leaving you. But my wife isn't leaving me, I said evenly. My wife is deciding whether she wants to stay married to me. I respect that. There is no process, she exploded. God, Marcus, you're so frustrating. I set my tablet down and looked at her, genuinely curious. Help me understand something. Are you mad because I'm not fighting for our marriage, or because I'm respecting what you said you wanted? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. She saw the trap. Clear as day. I'm angry because you don't seem to care, she said. About losing me. I stood up and walked around the island until I was right in front of her. Here's what I care about. I care about being with someone who actually wants to be with me. I care about having a partner who doesn't need to threaten our marriage just to feel valued. And I care about not wasting my life on someone who isn't sure they love me. Her face went pale. I never said I didn't love you. No, but you did say you weren't sure you wanted to spend your life with me. And honestly, after this week, I'm starting to see why. What does that mean? She whispered. I leaned against the counter, studying her face. It means I learned something important about you. When things get hard, you don't communicate or work together. You threaten the relationship itself. That says a lot about your character. That's not fair, she shot back. Isn't it? You literally told me you wanted to separate so you could decide if you wanted to be married to me. That's not communication. That's emotional manipulation. Her eyes widened. The word hit exactly where it was supposed to. I wasn't manipulating you, she said, weak as hell. Really? Because it looks like you created a crisis to get attention and test my devotion. That's textbook manipulation. She started panicking, tears pooling in her eyes. You're twisting everything. Am I? Let me ask you something straight up. Do you actually want a divorce? No. Do you actually want to separate? No. Were you actually unhappy in our marriage? She hesitated just long enough to tell me everything. Things weren't perfect. But were you really planning to leave me last Saturday? Another pause. I was confused. I nodded. Confused about what? About whether I really appreciated you. So you decided to threaten our marriage to figure it out. I didn't threaten anything, she said fast. I just said I needed space to think about whether I wanted to spend my life with you. Most people would call that a threat. She was backing herself into a corner with every word. You're making it sound worse than it was. How should it sound? Because from my side, my wife said she was unhappy and wanted to separate. There's no pretty version of that. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it without thinking, and I saw her face change. Let me guess, I said. Your friend's checking in on how the test is going? She went completely white. What test? The test where you fake a breakup to see how hard I'd fight for you. How's that working out? Her mouth fell open. Color drained from her face. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because I heard everything last Thursday. The call where Rachel, Sandra, and Amber talked you into testing my commitment by threatening to leave me. She staggered back like I'd hit her, grabbing the counter. Why, you heard? I heard all of it. The fake drama. The coaching. Even the part where they told you to document it for fun. Sandra's cousin Melissa and her car. Amber telling you to let me sweat. All of it. Tears started forming, but I wasn't done. So let me ask again. Were you truly unhappy, or were you running a psychological experiment on your husband for your friend's entertainment? It wasn't like that, she sobbed. Then what was it like? Explain. They said it would help me understand how you really felt about me. I let out a bitter laugh. And now? How do I really feel about you? I don't even know anymore. She was crying openly now. You want to know how I feel? I feel like I married someone who'd rather manipulate me than talk to me. I feel like my wife values her friends' opinions more than our marriage. And I feel like I spent a week being tested like a damn lab rat by someone who promised to love and respect me. I'm sorry, she choked out. I'm so sorry. I know it was wrong. Do you? Because you doubled down on the lie for a whole week. And when your test didn't work, you tried to level it up by threatening divorce. You were really willing to blow up our marriage over a stupid game. I didn't know how to fix it, she cried. I didn't know how to tell you the truth. You could have told the truth at any point. Instead, you kept digging the hole deeper. Every day, Jennifer, every single damn day, you had a chance to be honest, and you chose to lie. She was full-on sobbing now, the weight of what she'd done finally crashing down on her. But I'd been planning this moment for a week, and I wasn't about to let emotions mess it up. Here's what's gonna happen now, I said firmly. You're gonna call Rachel, Sandra, and Amber and tell them exactly how their genius little test turned out. You're gonna explain how their manipulation nearly wrecked your marriage. And then you're gonna decide whether you want to be married to me, or married to their approval. I choose you, she said immediately through her tears. I choose our marriage. That's easy to say now. But you already chose their game over our relationship once. Why should I believe this time's any different? She didn't have an answer, and we both knew it. The test was over, but the real consequences were just getting started. The public reckoning. That evening, fate handed me the perfect opening for the next phase of my plan. Jennifer's friends were hosting their monthly dinner party at Sandra's house, and we were both invited. Under normal circumstances, I'd have bailed with some lame excuse, but yeah, these weren't normal circumstances. We should probably skip tonight, Jennifer said nervously while getting ready, her hands shaking as she put on her makeup. After everything that happened? Actually, I think we should go, I said, fixing my collar in the mirror. I've got a few things I'd like to discuss with your friends. Her face went white. What kind of things? Oh, Just how their relationship advice worked out for us. Don't you think they deserve an update? The dinner party was already buzzing when we arrived. The same 3 friends who orchestrated this whole mess were there. Rachel with her husband David, Sandra with her husband Ryan, and Amber with her husband Kevin, plus a bunch of other couples I recognized from past get-togethers. Perfect. Jennifer tried to drag us toward a quiet corner, but nah, I had other plans. Ladies, I said, walking straight up to Rachel, Sandra, and Amber with a big smile, I just wanted to thank you for your amazing marriage counseling last week. They exchanged nervous looks. Nearby guests started paying attention. What marriage counseling? Rachel asked innocently, her wine glass frozen halfway to her mouth. The phone consult where you convinced my wife to fake a breakup with me to test my devotion, I said loud enough for others to hear. Brilliant strategy, honestly. The chatter around us faded as people tuned in. Sandra's husband, Ryan, looked confused. I'm not sure what you mean, Sandra said, but her voice was shaky. Really? Because I heard every word of your coaching session. The part about telling her to threaten to leave me. The idea to document it for drama. Even the backup plan, escalate to divorce threats if I didn't react how you wanted. Now everyone was locked in. Jennifer looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. The room was dead silent. The best part, I continued, projecting my voice, was when she actually followed your advice and I called her bluff. You should have seen how freaked out she got when I started agreeing with her about separating. David, Rachel's husband, set his drink down. You guys told Jennifer to fake a breakup? It wasn't fake, Rachel protested weakly. We just thought she should test his commitment. I laughed, but there was zero humor in it. Test my commitment by lying to me and manipulating me? That's your idea of healthy relationship advice. Every relationship needs testing. Amber shot back defensively, crossing her arms. Does yours? I asked, turning to Kevin. Did your wife test your commitment by threatening to leave you for fun? Kevin stared at Amber with a look I couldn't quite read. Did you? The silence was brutal. I saw Jennifer trying to signal me to stop, but nope, I was just warming up. This needed to be said. Here's what I learned about tests, I announced to the room, making eye contact with several people. When someone tests you, they're telling you they don't trust you. When someone manipulates you, they're telling you they don't respect you. And when someone lies to you for a straight week, they're telling you exactly who they are. That's not fair, Rachel said, her face turning red. We were just trying to help. Help her feel secure by teaching her to be manipulative and dishonest? I shot back. That's your version of help? Ryan spoke up, staring at his wife Sandra with suspicion. Wait, so this was all fake? The whole separation thing? Completely, I said. A week-long psychological experiment designed by these 3 relationship experts right here. The friends were starting to panic. Other wives were looking at Rachel, Sandra, and Amber with straight-up disgust. Their husbands were watching them like they just learned something real ugly. You're making it sound worse than it was, Sandra protested, her voice rising. Am I? Because my wife spent a week lying to my face, threatening our marriage, and talking about divorce. All because you 3 thought it'd be fun to mess with her husband's emotions. The room exploded into whispers. Can you believe that? That's toxic as hell. I'd never do that to my husband. Maybe we should go, Jennifer whispered desperately, tugging on my sleeve. Why? I asked innocently. We're just getting to the good part. Tell everyone how your test turned out, ladies. Did I beg and plead like you predicted? They stayed silent, staring at the floor. No, I said. All right, let me fill everyone in. When my wife said she wanted to separate, I helped her pack. When she said she needed space, I gave her all the space she wanted. When she threatened divorce, I agreed it might be for the best. Everyone was hanging on every word. A few people had their phones out, probably texting the drama to someone else. Turns out when you call someone's bluff, they panic. Funny how that works. Rachel made one last desperate attempt. We were just trying to help her see her worth. I looked straight at her, my voice ice cold. Her worth isn't measured by how desperate her husband gets when she manipulates him. Her worth comes from being honest, trustworthy, and respectful, 3 things your advice completely trashed. David stepped away from Rachel. I think we need to talk at home. Kevin nodded at Amber. Yeah. We really need to talk. The party was basically dead. People made awkward excuses to leave, and Rachel, Sandra, and Amber were openly ignored. I saw other women whispering and pointing at them. In the car, Jennifer stayed quiet until we pulled out. Did you really have to humiliate them like that? She asked softly. I started the engine and looked at her. They humiliated themselves. I just made sure everyone knew who actually caused our marriage problems. The message was loud and clear. Actions have consequences. And her friends had just learned what happens when you mess with someone else's marriage. The terms of redemption. The drive home was silent until we pulled into the driveway. Jennifer sat there staring at her hands, tears still falling. I know you're angry, she finally said. Angry doesn't even cover it, I replied, shutting off the engine. But we need to talk about what happens next. Inside the house, I sat at the kitchen table and motioned for her to sit. This was the moment everything would be decided. Your friends won't be calling you anymore, I said matter-of-factly. After tonight, they'll probably blame you for making them look bad instead of owning their toxic advice. She nodded, miserable. I know. Good, because that tells you everything you need to know about the kind of people they are. I leaned forward, making sure she really got how serious this was. Here's where we stand. You made a choice to put their entertainment ahead of our marriage. You lied to me for a full week. You turned fake problems into real threats. And when I didn't react the way you expected, you doubled down instead of coming clean. Tears started falling again, but I didn't stop. So now you get to make another choice, the most important one of your life. What choice? She whispered. You can choose to rebuild this marriage on honesty and respect, which means cutting those toxic influences out of your life completely. No more girls' nights with Rachel, Sandra, and Amber. No more calling them for advice. No more letting them mess with your head using their manipulative crap. She was listening closely now, nodding slowly. Or, I continued, you can choose to keep those friendships and lose this marriage. Because I will not be tested, manipulated, or disrespected again. Not by you, and definitely not by your friends. This is non-negotiable. I choose you, she said fast. I choose our marriage. That's what you said yesterday. But choosing me isn't just words. It means proving you understand what you did wrong and why it can never happen again. How do I prove that? She asked desperately. I'd been thinking about this all week. First, tomorrow you're calling each of those friends and telling them you're ending those friendships. You're going to explain that their advice almost wrecked our marriage and that you take full responsibility for following it. Her eyes went wide. All 3 of them? All 3. And you'll do it in front of me so I know you actually did it. Okay, she whispered. Second, we're going to marriage counseling. Real counseling, not the armchair psychology your friends were pushing. You need to understand why you thought manipulation was okay in the first place. She nodded eagerly. Yes, absolutely. Whatever it takes. Third, you rebuild my trust through actions, not promises. Full transparency, where you go, who you talk to, and any advice you get about our relationship. I need access to your phone whenever I ask. No hesitation. No excuses. For how long? She asked. I looked at her seriously. For as long as it takes for me to believe you've actually learned from this. Could be months. Could be years. That's on you. She went quiet, thinking it through. And if I do all that, you'll forgive me? Forgiveness isn't something you earn by ticking boxes, I said. It happens when I see real change in your behavior and mindset. When I can trust you won't pull something like this again. I stood up, then paused. But I will say this. The fact that you're willing to cut those friends off tells me you might finally understand how serious this is. I do understand, she said earnestly. I really do, Marcus. I was so stupid. I can't believe I let them talk me into this. We'll see. Understanding it in your head is different from changing your behavior for real. Over the next few days, she did everything I asked. The calls to Rachel, Sandra, and Amber were awkward and painful, but she made them. Each one lasted about 5 minutes, and I listened to every word. "Rachel, I can't be friends with you anymore," Jennifer said on the first call, her voice shaking. "Your advice to test Marcus almost destroyed my marriage. I take responsibility for listening to you, but what you suggested was toxic and wrong." Rachel tried to argue, tried to dodge the blame, but Jennifer stood her ground. The calls to Sandra and Amber went the same way. By the end, all three hung up on her. Jennifer was crying, but she'd done it. She found a marriage counselor, Dr. Patricia Montgomery, and scheduled our first appointment for the next week. She even deleted Rachel's, Sandra's, and Amber's numbers without me asking, showing me the deleted contacts like proof. But the real test came 2 weeks later. Amber tried to reconnect through a mutual friend, claiming she'd been misunderstood at the dinner party and that everyone was overreacting. Jennifer showed me the text from Hannah, the mutual friend trying to play mediator. "Hannah says Amber wants to apologize and explain herself," Jennifer said, handing me her phone. "What do you think I should do?" "What do you think you should do?" I asked, testing her. She bit her lip, thinking carefully. "I think someone who tries to save face instead of taking real responsibility hasn't learned anything. Amber isn't sorry she gave me bad advice. She's sorry she got called out." I smiled for the first time since this whole mess started. "Exactly." She blocked Amber's number through Hannah, sent a polite but firm message declining the apology, and that was that. Rebuilding. 6 months later, our marriage was stronger than it had been in years, not because we survived a crisis, but because we finally set clear boundaries about what we would and wouldn't tolerate. Our sessions with Dr. Montgomery were eye-opening. Jennifer learned her insecurity came from comparing our relationship to others, especially the dramatized nonsense her friends fed her. She learned real love doesn't need to be tested or proven through manipulation. I learned I needed to be more open about my feelings and appreciation, even when everything seemed fine. Not because Jennifer owed me anything, but because solid relationships take constant effort from both sides. We started weekly check-ins, talking about anything bothering us, even small stuff. No more letting things rot. No more running to outsiders before talking to each other. Jennifer made new friends, women from a book club and a volunteer group. They had healthy relationships and gave real support, not toxic mind games. About 7 months after everything went down, we were eating dinner at home when Jennifer said something unexpected. "I ran into Ryan at the grocery store today," she said. "Sandra's husband." I looked up. "Oh, how's that going?" "They're separated," she said quietly. After what came out at the dinner party, he started paying attention to Sandra's behavior. Turns out she'd been testing him too, just in smaller ways. He couldn't trust her anymore. I didn't feel smug hearing that, just sad that Sandra had wrecked her own marriage with that mindset. "Rachel and David are in counseling," Jennifer added. "Hannah told me. And Amber and Kevin are actually doing okay. Kevin shut down her interfering, and she's been working on herself." "Good for them," I said honestly. "I've thought a lot about what I did," Jennifer said, setting her fork down. "How close I came to losing everything because I listened to people who had no business giving relationship advice." "We both messed up," I said. "What matters is what we learned." "I learned I'm married to someone who knows his worth," she said, reaching for my hand. "Someone who won't tolerate disrespect or manipulation. And honestly, that makes me respect you even more." I squeezed her hand. "And I learned you're capable of real change when you commit to it. That matters more than the mistake." We stayed in counseling for another year, even after things felt steady. Dr. Montgomery said the couples who make it are the ones who keep working on their relationship even when things are good, and we took that seriously. Jennifer never spoke to Rachel, Sandra, or Amber again. She didn't miss them. The friendships had been built on drama and competition, not real support or genuine love. 2 years after the incident, we renewed our vows in a small ceremony with close family and Jennifer's new circle of truly solid friends. It felt like a real fresh start, not some half-baked fix slapped onto something already broken. During the ceremony, I added a line to my vows that made Jennifer tear up. "I promise to always be honest with you, to never test your love, and to choose our partnership over anyone else's opinions." she added her own vows. I promise to communicate openly, to value your trust above everything, and to never let anyone talk me into betraying what we have. Those weren't just nice-sounding words for show. They were promises forged through fire, tested by lies, and strengthened by the grind of rebuilding from scratch. The test was over. The lesson stuck for good. Some boundaries, once crossed, change everything. But if both people are willing to put in the work, those changes can actually make a relationship stronger than it ever was. We learned that love isn't about flashy gestures or dramatic loyalty tests. It's about choosing each other every single day, being real even when it's uncomfortable, and building trust that outside noise can't mess with. Jennifer learned that real security in a relationship comes from honest communication, not mind games. And I learned that sometimes the best way to fight for your marriage is to refuse to play the games that slowly wreck it. Years later, when people ask us the secret to our rock-solid marriage, we tell them the truth. We almost lost it by playing games, and we saved it by deciding we were done playing them for good.